this video, we're going to be replacing the primer bulb on this nice, two-stroke steel blower. It's a nice machine, and it's in good shape. I just, cleaned it up a little bit with some Super Clean, so shout out to Super Clean for helping us out on this project, and also shout out to Hipa for helping to support us, support this channel on this project for the primer bulbs, right? The replacement primer bulbs. So I'm going to take a picture of this, and I'll also leave the part number for this in the description. And I always like to get started by just giving this thing, giving all my stuff a good cleaning. This thing needed it. Just give it a good wash, and then I blew it off with some compressed air. And so now we can get started on it. We're going to get in there, and I'm going to show you. It's a pretty quick job. It's easy. It's something you can do at home. So if your machine is not starting, whatever it is, this one's a still BG55, but this is true for, and this works for any two-stroke that has a primer bulb. You may notice it if you fill up the tank and you keep pushing the primer bulb in and it's not filling with gas, or maybe there's a little gas coming out but it's getting all over your finger. That's it. The primer bulb is broken. Sometimes you can't see it. Sometimes it cracks, or it's really hard and it splits right open. But sometimes it just leaks. It's got a pinhole on it, and if that's the case, then yours is no good. Let's get started. Thanks, Super Clean. Let's get this thing cleaned up a little bit. I put a little bit more on already, so we'll leave this sit for a bit. All right, let's get started. So, you all know where your primer bulb is, and it is in a different location depending upon the machine you're working on. But in this case, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start off by removing the air cover, just to, the filter cover here. We want to take a look at our filter anyway. It's got a really nice filter. Plus, I washed the machine, and so I want to make sure that this is dry. And you can see in here, there's some water in there. So let me get my little air compressor while I'm here. And another thing you can do, depending upon your machine, right? So this machine, as a lot of them, they have a choke, and you can close the choke, and if you're washing it, right, that can prevent water from getting down into the engine, to the carburetor. So most of these have Phillips head screws, but this one can use a multi-type screwdriver setup. Now what you might want to do is, these screws are most likely going to fall. And so I have it turned this way. So what I might want to do is put it this way. Now you're not going to be able to see it. And I think this is a better way to do it. And I can even get a little magnet out and put the magnet near it so I can catch the screw. So I'm going to bring this over to the bench, the other bench, and we'll do an overhead view. And that way it's a little easier for me to deal with and easier for you guys to see. And if the screws fall, right, well, they're going to fall someplace. But we don't want to make them fall. So what can happen is if they fall into that way, right, they can get caught inside of because it's a blower, there's an impeller in here, and it could get caught on the inside of this. So we want to avoid that. So what do we do? It's easier to work it this way, right? And I can get at it, and I can show you much easier what to do. But if we drop that screw, it is definitely going to go down in there. And then that's a problem, right? We've just made our job a lot harder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try something for you guys, and I'm going to take the risk, right? Because I do have other screws. So let's go over to the other station. All right, so I'm over here on the other bench, and what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to put my magnet close to the screw. And in this case, I could probably even use the magnet to retrieve it. Now, another thing I can do, all right, is I can magnetize the screwdriver, always in one direction. And that's not bad. Now let me get my other magnet. This is the magnet from one of those tool trays. It's unglued, so. Now, that should be enough. It's about the same strength. Honestly, I think that this did a better job. And you'll have to keep doing that just to make sure that it stays as strong as you need it to be. So if you're going to do it in this position, say, you really want that magnet to make sure that it's going to grab your screw. This one's a little bit more difficult because it's hitting the plastic. Now, it won't come out because it's kind of hitting that plastic. Uh-oh. Right? So take your time. Like I said, if I drop it down in there. Now, we still have to put it back together again. It doesn't want to come. So we still have a chance of dropping the screw. There we go. So we got our screws safely removed. And now we can just take this little steel plate off and just look at the direction everything goes in. Okay. So just observe. And this is clean in here, so if yours is a little bit dirty, you could spray something in there, but I don't recommend it because it's not the gaskets, there are diaphragms in here that you can damage. And so the only thing that you can really clean with is two-stroke, but we shouldn't have to. If yours was running, and that's fine, we should be able to replace this. If it's not running, that's another problem. See, this one's got a little crack right here. So I put the part number down in there, and we're going to put this back. But before I do, I want to go get another primer bulb and show you. There basically are two different types of primer bulbs. So that's why I want to alert you to that. Here's the other common size. And, of course, it just about fits into the bigger one, right? See? So sometimes they're in pink, like a pinkish red. I don't know what that is all about. All right, so we're good here. So we're just going to reverse the procedure. Try not to disrupt anything. There's another reason why actually doing it in this position, it's not going to fall, right? It's not going to flop over on you. So we're going to put in the easier screws first and just kind of get it aligned. Don't tighten it, just don't even snug it, just get it started. You can put them in with a pair of needle nose pliers too. All right, now we're going to tighten on opposite ends. Just going to snug it with my fingertips. Make sure that it's going down nice and flush and flat. Just kind of a cross pattern. All right, now we're snug. Now we're going to tighten it. The same kind of pattern. And I'm just going to go back over it and check it. All right, we're done. Let's fuel it up. Now, again, remember to take your fuel out because it'll probably leak all over. But if there's not a lot of fuel in your system, in your tank, it'll settle this way and it'll be fine. But if you got a full tank, you might want to either remove the fuel. Maybe it's a good chance to dump all your fuel out and put some fresh fuel in. If it haven't, maybe you're just starting it up for the springtime. So it might be a good time to do that. Change out your fuel, mix up some fresh fuel. Also, I'd like to, while I'm here, clean my plug. All right, so that is something. That's a tough call right there. So kind of tough to get that out. So I'm just going to use my needle nose. I know these are hard to get off. I can use a pair of pliers. Let me tilt it. Okay, just give it a tug. All right, let me get that plug out. Okay, and I got it out. I had to use one of these adapters just to get in there. It's very difficult. It still makes things difficult, right? Because they don't want you working on it. So in this case, but this plug's in great shape. So again, like I said, maybe you want to go and get yourself a plug. This is an NGK. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just going to give it a quick cleaning. And then I'm going to put a little bit of no-sees around the threads. And I just wanted to show you. If you get a plug, they're usually pre-gapped. But if somebody drops it or it's not done right, you always check it. There should be about 28 thousandths. Let me put this back in, and we'll be back in a minute. Now, I'm generally in the habit of doing this. Just a little bit of chain wax. And now for wet use operations, I do this. But I do this most of the time on a lot of machines. You want to make sure that it snaps down, or it feels like it's really getting a good bite mechanically, and it is, right? It's not going to come off. Hear that? Okay, so it wasn't really going down, and sometimes it helps to have a little bit of lubrication. Also, it'd be a little easier to take off next time, because you don't want to. I've seen it where the boot will come off. Now you got your boot stuck, right, in your hand, and it's not on there. So that's another problem. Wet operations, that's very useful. They have a dielectric grease you can use, but I keep chain wax around because it's common, right? A lot of the stuff that we have is chain driven, and it's useful for a lot of bushings and bearings. It's a kind of a light grease. It goes in as a almost a penetrating lubricant. So that's just a tip, and it's a good thing to do. Are there other areas you can lubricate? Not really on one of these. It's not a bad idea to put some in here. Actually, the label, I guess, is missing. I can actually get to the pull starter region where the spring is, and it's nice to make sure that you have lubrication in here, especially if you've washed it. But other than that, we should be fine. All right, first test is going to be, let's see if it fills up with fluid. Oh, there it goes. There we go. All right, good. Okay, now it may take you a little bit to start it because you've rinsed it, but I did blow it off with my compressed air. If you don't have a compressor, just leave it out in the sun on a nice day. Let's bring it inside. Again, I'll just say it again. When you rinse it, it might create a hard start scenario because the water can get in, a little bit got into the air cleaner area, so it's an opportunity to blow that out, clean out, maybe clean or replace the air cleaner. It can get into the ignition system, and that can just temporarily screw it up. It won't hurt anything. It could get into the motor through the exhaust or through the carburetor, but not enough. I recommend a hose. The only time I'd recommend a pressure washer for anything is if it's really, really bad, and maybe you found it or whatever. But for general use, I like hose for small stuff, and a good cleaner, and a shout out to Super Clean for that, and also a shout out to Hipa. These guys these ladies actually are helping to support the channel. So I think that's a great thing. And a plug, it's an excellent opportunity to at least replace or clean your spark plug. And then get a good look at your fuel lines. Maybe they're cracked, maybe they're broken, maybe that's the problem. On this one, that's not the case. It's a simple fix. And again, there you have it. So if it's a little hard starting, even if you just maybe want to make your life a little easy when you go to start it the first time at the beginning of the year, or after maybe it's sitting for a month or whatever, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of hot shot. So you can do it, and don't let it stop you. Still is a little bit harder to get certain parts for. They want to either sell you directly from Still, or they want to have their mechanics do it. But that doesn't mean that you can't replace certain simple things on a Still. That is available to you to do. And of course, this is the same procedure basically for any two-stroke with a primer bulb. Your primer bulb may be up top, right? Maybe sticking out a little bit more. It might be on this side. And it may be the smaller size, but that's it. It's very simple to do. Hopefully that was helpful, guys, and I will see you on the next one, Archer's Garage.